Welcome, everyone. Call to order. Declaration of the Council of the Township of Terrace Bay hereby acknowledges that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Nishnaabeg and the Métis. Additions, deletions, or amendments. We have going to be one addition. We'll talk about the Sand Can Resorts Expo in Thunder Bay. That's for mining. Okay. Moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor St. Louis, resolved that the Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 agenda be approved as amended. All in favor? Carried. Disclosures of interest. I have 1, 7, A, B, C, and D. Payroll and disbursements. Anyone else? Okay. Adoption of minutes. Moved by Councillor St. Louis, second by Councillor Johnson, results that the minutes of the regular council meeting held Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 be approved as presented. All in favor? Carried. Reports from administration. John, Emil, recap.
Hey, Your Worship. So delegation number 1 with Ministry of Infrastructure went fairly well. It was the first one of the day for us. With the minister, we discussed infrastructure funding and what the next steps were for the federal governments. As I alluded to in our letter, the Council of Federation met a number of times this summer, and the provinces have sent numerous letters to the federal government seeking partnership similar to the old ICIP or Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. That program is now ended. So for municipalities, really, we do get OSIP funding from the province on a formula basis every year, much similar to the gas tax in the past. Some of you have been around for a while. But we've taken advantage in the last number of years on the Canogby projects, the beach, and the outfall half of the Canogby project with respect to capital or project-based funding. So there's no new program for that right now. So that was a big concern of ours. The other concern of ours with all the discussions, a lot of the correspondence in the Council of Federation stuff referred to housing. So we want to make sure they still focus on traditional infrastructure, in-ground infrastructure, pipes, roads, that kind of thing. Don't forget about that. Housing is important, but traditional infrastructure is important as well too. So it was fairly well received. I think the delegation overall went well. Second one of the day was with the municipal affairs and housing, where we discussed both supportive housing and conventional or traditional, single detached housing. Really just reiterated that we're having on the traditional housing side, it's difficult for us to attract developers who want to come and develop multiple houses. We've sold some lots, we've had steps that way. But a lot of the developers that we've talked to, our neighbors have talked to, are simply busy in other places doing larger projects, larger subdivisions, that kind of thing. So, and on the supportive housing side, obviously we've been at it for over a decade now in various committees and forums. So we're trying to move that ball forward. I do have a contact now at the office in Thunder Bay or Sudbury. I can't remember where she manages of, but to talk to her about any tools that we might be able to use to help facilitate attraction of those developers, whether it's creating some kind of incentive for them to come and actually tax incentive or some of the financing incentives. So again, fairly well received. That one was with the PA, not with the actual minister. So and then sessions, I'll just reiterate some of the sessions I attended. So I did make an Airbnb contact, which was great. I'm trying to get a hold of them, see what they can assist us with in terms of trying to enforce short-term rental bylaws and similar regulations. Building permit modernization was another one I attended. So moving everything to the cloud. So that's something we are looking at on the back end, which we haven't brought anything forward yet. OMERS update was good. Nice to know what our pension fund is up to and their success. Circular economy I attended, which was a 2 municipalities, different size municipalities who've already gone through the transition to full producer responsibility and recycling. So one was the City of London and one was small town producer Ontario. I can't think of the name right now, but so it was definitely way 2 different perspectives. One opted in and one opted out. So one One was hiring a contractor to do everything, and another one was actually still doing a lot of collecting, but they were getting rid of the processing part of the contracting. So really interesting session. Something these municipalities have done for 30 years now, and just tomorrow it's done. So that was an interesting record. The last two single register for Ontario's electors. So that's more on the clerk side for me for the elections. So Elections Ontario, as you may or may not have heard, is taking over the electoral list for the 2026 election. I believe they're actually taking it over in 2024, but it'll be 2 years before the next election. And then the last one I think is municipal service corporations and with respect to service delivery. So I don't think anybody else wants to comment, but
Well, like, not in the conference, but actually the airport there and talking to Kevin Holland and Bert, you've talked to him, and I mean, he's more than willing to, anytime you guys need a hand with anything or questions, give him a call. Myself and Luke met with Patty Hydu. She basically said the same thing, you guys need a hand or whatever, with anything, so, yeah.
Chris,
I'm gonna speak to it here that advancing seniors care. I got a 8A, so I pulled. Bert and I attended a lot of long-term care, assisted living, anything that's centered around that being a priority moving forward. So I'll speak to it in 8A.
Okay, thanks, John. Township Holiday Social.
So to keep the council in the loop, the caterer is now reserved the Christmas social or Christmas dinner on Friday, December 8th. That's Breezy's Catering out of Stryver. So we procured somebody. Good. Roughly $57.50 a person. Expected attendance is about 100. The one question that's being asked right now is, do we want to keep the DJ and keep the dancing afterwards, or do we just want to make it a dinner and then a little bit of socializing and then the evening kind of ends?
The last few years, a lot of people kind of leave by whatever 9, 10 o'clock in the late. It's no one.
Yeah, a lot of the older ones.
Yeah,
Getting some younger ones out there.
That's one thing is you could be hit or miss, right? You could have a year where you have a bunch of young people who are looking to maybe stick around and have a dance, and then we don't have anybody. So with the DJ, we're still on budget. So I would suggest maybe we keep it for this year and we can revisit it next year with some more discussion time.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
The other opportunities, even if there's someone semi-local entertainer kind of idea, or comedian or some sort of entertainment that way.
I just had a comedian at Wasashka. It was well, we have one coming into town, if I'm not mistaken, here in a couple weeks too. So you
It
can
doesn't have to be comedian.
No, I know. It's just funny.
Some appreciate the idea. Something can look into. The only thing, so as I said, we're still on budget. It'll be $20 per person. We always started for tickets, so just keep that in mind. Get in touch with Michelle front counter or Luke or I, and we can let you know when tickets are available.
You doing the finance one?
Yeah. For the second time for Danny this month, I know. So just a quick verbal update with respect to finance. The landfill ratio was corrected from 2775465 to 1089. So it was a transposition error when they were actually in the bylaw. Just that the number got copied twice. So we noticed it. So really it was just not big. And it was in, I believe it might have been in Danny's report. I'm not sure if it was there. Anyway, Danny caught it. So we made the change. Just wanted to let council know that we corrected the bylaw properly. So
yeah, it's all done.
Thank you. Next, Luke, new development supervisor.
Thank you.
So the township partnership with the MTO operates community health transportation program. Program provides residents Terrace Bay, Stryver, Jackfish, Rossport, Face Flat for reliable door-to-door transportation Marathon or Thunder Bay for medical appointments. This program averaged 263 annual passengers from 2018 to 2020 and is on pace to replicate pre-pandemic numbers this year. So the MTO's annual funding is set to end in March 2025. However, due to increased pressures that are preventing some recipients from operating their program beyond 2025, the MTO has issued a form for additional funding requests. During a stakeholder meeting hosted by their staff, They noted that there's a limited pool of funding and it's unlikely that all applicants receive their full request. However, recipients that are willing to submit a council resolution committing to long-term ongoing funding for their projects will be prioritized. So as council is aware, earlier this year, administration submitted an application to the Rural Transit Solutions Fund for 80% of the cost of a new community transportation vehicle. As we are not expected to learn the results of our application until after the MTO's additional funding request closes, With council support, administration will request $66,126 from the MTO for the purchase of a new hybrid vehicle. Should the Rural Transit Solution Fund application prove successful, the program stream is stackable to 100%, and therefore the combined applications have the potential to offset the entire cost of a new community health transportation vehicle. So for financial implications, there are no financial implications at this time. Should the request for the additional MTO funding be approved, similar to the Rural Transit Solutions Fund, administration will seek to budget the purchase of a new vehicle in 2024. So our options are option A, council support a request for additional funding for the Community Transportation Grant Program in the amount of $66,126 for the purchase of a new hybrid vehicle, and that council is committed to long-term ongoing operations of the Community Transportation Program beyond 2025. Option B, the council does not support this request for additional funding and directs administration otherwise. The recommendation is option A.
Any questions? No, it's good news, I think, yeah. Where did we get that quote from, Luke, for a vehicle?
That's from Mazda.
That's like a SUV.
Yeah, correct. So it'd be similar product we have here. When I contacted Chevrolet, as well as Ford, they weren't voting until they had their final 2024 models ready. So certainly by the time we budget, if we're successful here, we would reach out to those companies for numbers.
Okay. Thanks, Luke. No other question?
I just asked, did you mention it has to be a hybrid or it doesn't? Depends on the funding model.
Correct. So for the MTO additional funding, it does not have to be a hybrid. For the Rural Transit Solutions Fund, GHG emission reductions was the key component. And that's why we had identified a hybrid, in that an electric vehicle, they don't have the range to meet our needs right now. So we identified a hybrid in this one just to keep it in.
Thanks, Luke. We have a motion moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor St. Louis. Resolve the council support a request for additional funding for the Community Transportation Grant Program in the amount of $66,126 for the purchase of a new hybrid vehicle, and that council is committed to long-term ongoing operations of the Community Transportation Program beyond 2025. All in favor? Carried. Sorry. General disbursements. We have a motion made by Councillor St. Louis, second by Councillor Johnson. Resolve the council approve the general disbursement for the month ending July 2023 in the amount of $381,622.30. Any questions on that? All in favor? Carried. Next item, moved by Councillor Dubé, second by Councillor Leduno. Resolve that council approve the general disbursements for the month ending August 2023 in the amount of $618,670.96. Any questions on that? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Communications. Advancing senior care.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Do you mind if I, no, please go ahead. Shade arrows. Yeah, perfect. Advantage Ontario. So one of the presentations at AMO was specific to long-term care needs in Ontario. And the thing that I really pulled out of this specific presentation, which is how convoluted it actually is. And I sort of want to just draw attention to this document. Now, this was the actual presentation. I emailed the CEO of Advantage this past week, Lisa Levin, who's CEO, presented, and basically said at the end of your presentation, she had mentioned that she would forward it out to anybody who asked, and there's other appendices and documents that they had provided on the table, but I didn't think they were they didn't really cover the extent of what I think we should all know trying to move forward with an assisted living housing complex here in Terrace Bay. So I just sort of wanted to point out a few things to you guys just to bring everybody up to speed. Good. So again, I'm not redoing the entire presentation. I just sort of want to just bring your focus to a few things. So one thing I really sort of looked at, obviously there's all the numbers and all the data that support it. We know what it is. They described what their core services are. Again, this is all part of the council agenda. So if you're interested, you can go back and reread any of the stuff I'm skipping over. So again, sort of like data to support senior housing. What does it look like? Blah, blah, blah. Assisted living and senior supportive housing. So one of the things was that I really pulled out of this aspect of the presentation was it's sort of, there's no one clear cut sort of way of looking at assisted living, right? There's various ways of doing it, or the supports that can be, or the services that can be provided, right? So accommodated varying levels of ability, we require assistance to maintain independence, appropriate seniors housing needs, all that sort of stuff. This cost analysis, $62 a day versus $200 a day in long-term care. That really stood out for me, especially we have a 22 bed long-term care here at the hospital. So looking at that cost difference and freeing up those sort of like transition rooms between either you're in your house and it's not really working for you, or you're in long-term care. Where's that middle ground? Funding. So challenges, right? This first bullet up here where it says, unfortunately, there's no single go-to provincial ministry for senior supportive housing to make access to funding and information easier, right? So this is great because whoever did this, I don't know, like this research project going along what each ministry has a specific, they're in charge of a specific aspect of the supportive housing. So what is each ministry responsible for? And I found that, again, this presentation was very succinct when talking about each aspect. So what is the Ministry of Health in charge of? Health Ontario, Ministry of Long-Term Care, Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So again, please go back. I don't want to redo this presentation, but it allows you to understand the complexities of moving forward with this, because there's so many ministries have their sort of fingers on this specific initiative. Moving along, this is what I thought, like looking at where is the funding going to come from, right? Funding. So here are two streams that were spoke of here, these two acronyms. And so again, what does it look like? Are we eligible? And this is where I would look at to administration, like, are we able to sort of access some of these funding streams? Yes or no? Especially to sort of like get things along underway. We've spoken to having the site looked at to say like, hey, what kind of feasibility studies can we access this money to start moving that project forward? And I thought that was really good, pointing the finger sort of in this direction. Great. Issues and gaps. Okay. Municipalities, again, talking about just how, there's different philosophies, like do you provide free or low cost, work with local Ontario health teams to obtain funding for operating supportive housing. So again, there's so many aspects of it. It's not like we just apply and then all the dominoes come together. Obviously, that's what I'm learning from this specific presentation. So how are specific aspects funded and from who? Good. Then they went on the case studies. So they have various case studies where different municipalities have sort of moved forward with whatever works for them. So again, Waterloo here, they had a specific way of looking at it. Oakville has a very different, they're not similar to us. Obviously, they're a lot larger. However, what have they done? Simcoe, some of these places have done campuses of care. So it's kind of interesting. It's almost like what Kevin is doing out his way. He has, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a seniors residence, a long-term care. It's almost like all of these sort of services for seniors are encompassed within like one area, if I'm not mistaken. You might be able to speak better than first.
They're being built in the priorities, then the next stage,
Right.
About 4 or 5 stages.
Right.
That are just increasing what they offer with each stage.
That's right in economy.
Yes.
Yeah. And is it Grant we spoke to about that as well?
Arnold, yes.
Yeah. And he was sort of explaining exactly how his municipalities moving forward with seniors care. Good. So Simcoe, and again, merging practices. So it's nice to sort of go through these case studies to see what, maybe we can pull out 1 or 2 aspects that have worked there that we can foresee working here. And I believe that's it. And that's her contact there. So again, the big things, lots of ministries, can we access that funding, and what are some of the best practices, and are we able to pull some of those best practices and implement them here? Anyway, thank you for your time. And
Go ahead, Bert.
Lisa, I quizzed her on if she would come to the north and gear her presentation more to us up here rather than all of Ontario, and she said that she'd be more than happy to, and so I have to get a hold of Noma.
Get her to do something, Yeah. I was gonna say, if we got that stuck, that would we ask them to say what is best for Terrace Bay?
If I'm not mistaken, they're a nonprofit, and you have to be a member, but I'm assuming you have to be, there's lots of things. This is where I don't really know, but they work with municipalities to help them
Move along.
Right. Again, though, like after speaking with some of the guys in Marathon, like I think the biggest case study that we should be looking directly at is Marathon. You couldn't be more relevant what they're doing and what we potentially could do moving forward as well. Who did they use? How big did they build? How are they doing? Speaking with the Marathon counterparts, and looking at who did their study and whatnot, I think that would be something that would be extremely beneficial. Having them come and present in North, for sure, but does it help us access more funding? Again, Patty and then Kevin, those individuals, the MP and MPP, really leaning hard on them, saying, okay, we really are excited about moving forward. And but again, this is where my lack of understanding is. Like, I don't know much about accessing that funding that was up here. Have we even looked at that? So that would be my question. Have we looked at those, or are those new streams? Are you familiar with those streams?
So we've been investigating what's been mostly focusing on CMHC up until now, and Rapid. A number of them have been announced in the last little bit. Rapid Housing Initiative. There's 2 of them in a row that have Rapid Housing. Previously, we were investigating seed funding. Previously informed both committee and council that the seed funding is. It's one of them is closed and one of them is open, but it's pointless for it to be open. You can file an application, but you're at the back of the line and there's already a backlog of applications in the systems.
Don't you have to be like shovel ready?
That's the other aspect, as we said in our delegation with Minister of Housing, is most of the money is geared towards shovel-ready projects. We would like to see the province have seed funding available for us to do some investigative work. So there are one of the points that Councilor Johnson brought up previously is looking at the private sector. Yeah, we have reached out to at least one, and possibly another one is interested now too in community church specifically. So let's see where that goes. We need to get another supportive housing meeting going. It's been a bit difficult in the summer trying to schedule with people being off on holidays and trying to come up with a forum.
I thought we scheduled one for September, Bert, didn't we? At that last meeting?
We didn't narrow it down specifically. I don't think we said yes.
Try to schedule one in the next 2 weeks. So Yeah, we're open to always looking at grant funding. It's just whether or not we fit into into the program specifically, or we fit into the program now as opposed to, yes, we will access this funding in a couple of years because then we'll be already.
A couple, from a long-term care presentation, a couple things I pulled out of that, even though it wasn't on supportive housing, there were developers and municipalities, and they were all speaking about what makes projects move along a little bit quicker. If there are hurdles, what are they, and can we sort of alleviate those hurdles prior to being shovel ready? And one of them was zoning. And I spoke to John, and we are zoned appropriately. And they said, because in some other municipalities, you might not have the right zoning to move forward, and that's a lengthy process. And then the other one was modular. And I'm not saying if we were going to build some modular, but maybe not. But one of the other things is like, well, building modular helps move along projects quicker. Is there aspects of this project that can be sort of design modular, like offsite and brought onto here, right? Those sort of things as well as the cost saving and people aren't here, and it's done mostly offsite and transported here. So looking at, is there opportunities for that? And those were the two for long-term care. Those I thought to myself, like, yeah, that can be sort of brought over for the supportive housing part of it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Yep.
The next item me was that mining, Bullion, I guess, in Terrace Bay on the 12th and 13th of September. Basically, I know I sent all you guys the email there. Right now I can't commit to that. I'm up there, but I'm in another meeting. So I don't know how you guys feel, if you want to send some up there to investigate, or no, we don't have any mines here, but there's mines closed. John?
One of the thoughts I was discussing this with Paul on the weekend and again today, it might be good if we could have somebody attend, and that we could learn a little bit about what mining activity is going on in our area and how it might impact our township. Shows, we have a bit of interest in it as well to any companies that are there presenting. Again, I'm not aware immediately of any companies within the township boundaries that are expand or build, construct a mine per se, but PGM and Marathon obviously is going to be a big impact on them. We've still got Hemlo operating over there. You've got the zinc mine at Scriber that's whether it's going to go or not. And again, they'll be all the way, people will be at this expo. So it's a pretty successful expo. They've had one in Timmins the last few years. It's the same group that's doing it. So this is the Central Canada one. It might be, if somebody could attend, it might be important for us to send somebody.
So when is that? I don't recall seeing that.
Wednesday, 12, 13. Okay.
The job fair is 13th, 14th.
Of September?
Yeah.
13th is out for me because I'm in a meeting all day. 12th, I got a meeting late afternoon, so.
Maybe do the 13th. I can't do the 12th. Even that would be, well, let me see here. The 12th is
possible. Oh, you don't need a decision tonight.
Yeah, I honestly
so there.
don't think I could do either.
I can't make work, and too short term for me.
Bert, Gary, you guys interested?
I'm interested. I gotta check my calendar.
Yeah, you guys let us.
I just have, I potentially have to ship something Wednesday, but I could make it work.
I think it is a good idea. We should, go there and show some interest and maybe make some contacts, right? With
the agenda did show there was a number of presentations on mining activities specifically in the area. So cool. Good time to ask questions.
Yeah.
Need to see.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, next item. Identification card, other business.
Yeah, so I brought this forward when we were traveling just to the hotel. I know Paul was asked for a municipal ID.
Yeah.
And then another member of the administration or township was also trying to book a hotel previously and didn't have an ID. With our school board, I have an ID card, and the way it was relayed to me was it's important as a safety aspect. So this is going to sound fairly morbid, but if there's a school shooter, I go outside, I can identify myself, right? And in case of an emergency, that was one of the scenarios that was brought forward. So I have my ID card on me all the time. And then, I can also bring it to conferences and whatnot and have it around my neck when I'm at different conferences and people know who I am. Right. So one thing Colton had mentioned, he works obviously at the fire department or volunteers at the fire department, that the fire department has purchased an ID card maker, and that he's the one who makes the ID badges, that he would be willing to make them. I'm not sure what the cost is. It didn't sound like it was a lot. He said that basically the legwork is getting the template and then everybody just submits a photo. And then everybody's got an ID card. Again, if you go to have a hotel, what's your municipal ID? Here it is, on a safety reason. So I thought that it would be a good idea for not just council, but and all the township employees to sort of request the fire department to make these for us. And we would pay the cost. I said, what is it going to be, like $30? He said, not even close to being that much. So I'm not sure exactly. We'd have to get a quote from them, but that I figured at least bring it forward and to council.
Any thoughts?
Sounds like a great idea.
No, I'm not opposed to it. Yeah,
Yeah, as long as it's a form of ID.
Well, even when you go to the hotels and that now, they want
Yeah,
ID.
not just the business card.
Yeah.
and ID.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't touch base with Portland, so it's possibly prepared.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
sure.
No problem. Thank you, for bringing that up. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Question period. Bill, do you have any questions for us?
Anyone online, if there's any questions? Going once? Twice? And third and final time? Don't see any questions already, Your Worship.
Okay, next item, moved by Councillor Duno, second by Councillor Dubé, resolved that the next regular council meeting be held Monday, September 18th, 2023 at 6:30 in council chambers. All in favor? Carried.
Just a reminder, there is a special meeting on the 25th for all members of council. We'll get that posted and that will deal with a planning application for short-term.
Item moved by Councillor Duno, second by Councillor Dubé, resolved that we now adjourn at 19:03. All in favor? Carried.